Hello, Team Ascension. How's everybody doing out there? It's the last month of the year, so I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page when we're out there in the field. So I wanted to show you some of the things that I'm actually utilizing out in the field so you could duplicate me and actually have some of the best opportunities to close business and some of the tools that have worked with me so successfully in the business. So what I'm going to work on today is I'm just going to do some of the drawings for the IUL. That way everybody will pretty much know. I know a lot of you may know it. Some of you that are new may not. But I want to make sure that we're all singing the same song. So let's get started. When I'm working with the IUL, what I'm actually showing the client is what the differences are between when they actually have a 401k and when they get our product. So I want to jump right into part 2 of the drawing, and then after that we'll do part 1. So when we actually show the client, for instance, if a client was saving about extra $400 a month, but they were saving it, we transferred it from a 401k and now they're actually utilizing the IUL. Number one, we want to make sure that we put down that it's from a gross, and then we put the paycheck here in the middle, and then we put the net perspective here from the bottom. So we want to make sure that our clients understand that if they get an IUL from us, that it must come from a net source. You can't roll over into an IUL, you can't get it from an IRA account, you can't get it from a stock. Those things have to be cashed out, and it has to be net money that goes into there. So we actually take it from the net source, and then we stick it inside of this tool called an IUL, which many of you know about. When I'm actually doing this, what I'm actually showing them is that, what is an IUL attached to? Well, 1, we put that it's an IUL. 2, we put that it's under the tax code 7702A. And 3, that it's been around since 1913. We want to make sure that we have all 3 of those facts here so that the client understands that 401k is a tax code and 7702 is a tax code. And one of the points that I emphasize is making sure that the client understands that they're not receiving the benefit of the tax code that's tax-free. So it's attached to the indexing strategy. And what happens every time the stock market goes up here? The stock market goes up, the money goes up. When the stock market goes down, the money locks and stays the same. Stock market goes up again, the money goes up. Stock market goes down, the money locks and stays the same. So basically, in an indexing strategy, one of the things that you must make sure that the client understands is that they won't lose any money. But we want to make sure that they understand the mechanics of how it works on the inside. So I basically tell the clients that, let's do an example. What if the market jumped up about 30%? Well, the client wouldn't receive 30% because they're capped at a 15% interest rate, put on a monthly basis. So I ask all of my clients, hey, where else can you get 15%, up to 15% on a cap on a monthly basis? The answer is pretty much nowhere, unless you're getting a stock-driven account, which they don't really know much about. If the market drops, as we said here, then basically they have a thing called a floor rate. And the floor rate of the IUL, a lot of the IULs that we use is 0.75%. So this basically means that the client is always locked in between 0.75 and 15%, which means that their money is always protected. There's no market volatility on it. Then we go in and explain to the client that after we've shown them this part, that the way that the mechanics of this actually works is that here's their money right here. And because we're a global company, we use 3 indices. We use the Euro, which is in Europe. We use the Hang Seng, which is in China. And we use the S&P 500, which is your Standard & Poor's 500 companies that are in the United States. Your Googles, your Facebooks, and some of the others. So we basically teach them that their money never goes into the stock market. What the money does is it receives a crediting strategy. So there's a crediting strategy attached to their product here that actually gives them up to 15% of 2 of the indices that they choose when they get this product. So let's say if the Euro and the S&P 500 did 15%, then the client will receive 15% that month. If it did 8% the next month, the client would receive 8%. If it did negative 40, there's a floor rate here that I explained here, and the client would basically receive 0.75%, which still protects their money and it doesn't go below 0. So we definitely want to explain to them that their money's never going into the market, but it's mirroring the market. So I always tell them that what your money is doing is mirroring the market. Okay? Then after that, I can go into the part of explaining to them that, hey, you might still think that you don't know everything about this. So the way that this actually works is that what Congress passed in 1913 is that you can index your money as high as you want when it comes from a net perspective, as long as it's under the umbrella of insurance. So that law that was passed in was called ALERT. It's called a life insurance retirement plan. What Congress passed is that as long as you have your money under the umbrella of insurance, your money can never be affected by taxes after it's already been taxed. So there's some great perks that go to this plan. The first perk is pretty important. It shows you that you have total protection from taxes. And the next part of protection is that it protects it from market volatility, which means that if the market goes up and down, that does not affect your bottom line money. When it's up, your money's going up. When it's down, you're not losing anything. Number two, you can use it as an emergency fund. If the client has funded the product correctly and they need to go in it and take some of the money out of it, they can do that without any penalties or taxes, and there's no age restrictions on it. Number three, you could use it as a retirement supplement. You can actually set this up for distributions, and basically have you saved your money in there over some time. If you want to pull money out on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis, you could utilize that and add it onto your retirement plan. Number four, you could use it as a college plan. And this is pretty important because many parents really like the fact that they could utilize this interest rate for their kids because it does not affect financial aid or any student loans. So the kids can actually still get the money out of these plans, or the parent can for the kid, and it doesn't affect any of their money. And then last but not least, you could use it as a high yield savings plan. What other savings plan would give you up to an interest cap of 15%? So if the client has some long-term goals or some short-term goals and they want to save the right amount of money in here and get the interest rates on it, they could do that. Save their money there, get the interest rates, and go back in and out of it. Let's keep in mind, guys, that it's got to be funded correctly. But when I'm working with my clients, I want to make sure that they understand every single part of this presentation. I hope that you get something out of this today. This is basically what I've been utilizing over the last 2.5 years. That's made me very, very successful in our hierarchy. So I hope that it'll help you out too. Thanks a lot.